Hello, survey researchers. My name is Mary Littlepage, and I am very excited to serve as your teaching assistant for this semester. And it's very exciting to see some familiar faces from 557. It's exciting to just kind of like continue on in the journey and support you in this class. And it's also exciting to see some new names and new faces that I very much look forward to meeting and working with you this semester as well. So periodically, I get the chance to make some videos and just kind of show you some strategies and hopefully tips and tricks and things that I've learned along the way that might help you in your journey with this class, and then possibly even with your own future research. And so I'm very excited today to talk to you about the difference between writing a summary and synthesizing the information that you read. So I'm also going to take you through, as I probably always will, a few of the steps that I do to get to and arrive at both of those types of writing. So let's go ahead and switch over to my computer view and we'll take it from there. So I'll see you over there in just a second. So I am going to start by showing you my Notion page, and this of course is the wrong page, so I'm going to go over here. You can look at the column over here, and it has several different projects that I'm working on. The Foundations of Reading is a project I worked on in 2019, so we don't need that, but I'm going to go over here to TA work and take just a quick second to talk a little bit about Notion. So I've used several different types of strategies to take notes, or platforms rather, to take notes. Currently, I use both Excel and Notion, but I want to show you Notion because it's such a great, user-friendly, really good platform to compile your notes and information, and I'm going to show you some of those features on here. And there is a paid version, but I actually just recently went back to the free version. So everything you're seeing that I do on here is the free version. So over here I have the TA work, and then I have the EPE 619. So I'm going to click on that, and then I have the modules set up. So I'm going to go to module 2, and then under here I have the reading. So I realized that you had 2 things to read and a video to watch, but I actually just ran out of time. So I'm just kind of showing you the process I would go through with 2 different types of materials. So one's written and one's a video. So the How We Do Research is from the Nardi book. And so what I do when I need to synthesize information, which is really is academic writing. And what I'm learning is that we really have to move away from writing summaries and summarizing what we read to synthesizing the information, where we basically establish some sort of conversation between the authors and the resources, because in one case it's a video. But we basically start a conversation with the 2 people, and then also weigh in our own opinions and weigh in our own thoughts or our own viewpoints. And so we're really trying to move from just summarizing what the information says to now taking multiple different forms and comparing what the authors say, contrasting what they say, putting in maybe what we agree or disagree with. And so always when I read, I start with taking notes. And this is what my notes look like when I would do something on Notion. A lot of times I just use a notebook also, especially for just discussion posts and things like that aren't as weight bearing as far as your grade's concerned. A lot of times I just take hand notes. But that's always something. It just helps me get my ideas on a piece of paper, so then I can work with my ideas once they're out of my mind, or out of my brain. So there's a lot of YouTube videos and things like that that are available about that strategy, and it's one that I've adopted. So here I just have the characteristics of everyday thinking. This should all look really familiar with, because it's all straight out of the reading. And I just took several notes about all of this, and then we went over to the scientific thinking, and then I took a few notes about the scientific thinking, and then I made a couple of tables because I just really oops, sorry about that. I just really think very linearly, and I like things organized. So I know for me personally, I might want to go back to these purposes of scientific research and methods. And so I really like to be able to find things quickly, and something like this visually is appealing and gives quick information. The other thing about Notion is that I really liked this, these 2 pages that were in the book, and I didn't want to retype them all, so I just scanned them, and then you can upload them in here. And so now kind of everything important is housed in this one page of the Notion. So I think that was great. Then you scroll down here, and I just took all of that. Now that all of my ideas are on paper, I can write the summary. So for you, for your discussion post, all you're doing is the synthesis. I'm just going to show you the the difference. So I have a summary, and then later I'll show you the synthesis, and you do not have to do this middle step. I'm just kind of showing you my whole process that I would do if it was for like a major project. So for the summary, so I wrote, the purpose of this chapter is to lay a foundation of scientific thinking to prepare readers to be aware of their own thinking and become more cognizant of an unnatural way of thinking, what Nardi will call scientific thinking. Nardi does this first by contrasting everyday and scientific thinking. Some characteristics of everyday thinking often include biased questions, such as rhetorical questions, questions that are slanted, or set the listener up to be forced to answer in a certain way. Everyday thinking may also be a result of a limited sample or confirmation bias. On the other hand, scientific thinking, as Nardi describes it, includes empirical observations, systematic methods, and objective, intersubjective, and replicable procedures. Nardi encourages his readers to become more aware of their thinking and to engage in scientific thinking. So you can see that's just a summary of the notes. There's nothing that I included about my own thoughts. There's nothing that I included about anybody else's thoughts. I'm just summarizing. So that is an important part of our research, but it's not our aim. We want to take it to that step further where we synthesize. So let's go ahead and look at the next document. So I'm going to go to the podcast, and again, one great thing about Notion is you can just embed the podcast in here now. So if I can go back to this, and maybe there was a part I wanted to rewatch or get the transcripts, it's just right here. So that's just another plus. And we can see, again, I just took some notes, and here is the first time, I think so far, where I started to kind of insert some of my own thinking, and I just italicized, put that in italics. So that way, when I'm rereading my notes, I know that was my own thought, not what was said in the video. So for the summary of this video, I said Armin Trost, I think is how you say his name, presents a strong argument for the need of systematic approaches to research. He argues that due to human limitations, such as biased thinking, researchers need a method outside of themselves to arrive at truthful discoveries in the social sciences. He gives several illustrations of human limitations, including our tendency to, I think that's supposed to say join. I didn't edit this. Join a majority viewpoint, look for information and sources that support our viewpoint, also called confirmation bias, and our inability to fully rely on our cognitive systems to come to reasonable conclusions because of, again, our tendency for faulty thinking. Trost establishes 5 principles for good scientific research: objective, systematic, replicability, generalization, and the use of theories. And again, we can go back. It's always good to practice APA whenever you can. I think that Cronin article kind of mentioned keeping track of your bibliography and citations. Highly recommend doing that, and highly recommend practicing APA as soon as possible. But again, it's just a summary of what the video said. So let's go over and see kind of how there's so many things. You probably already picked it up just by looking at the 2 summaries. You probably already noticed so many things, that so many directions we could go with confirmation bias or biased thinking or whatever. And again, for our discussion post, we don't have to go into that much depth, those are not our long papers, but we want to practice synthesizing them. So this hopefully is this is an example. I'm still working towards it too, but this was my write-up of the synthesis. So I said both Trost and Nardi established fundamental practices for research in social sciences. Trost presents an argument that acknowledges the fallibility of humans and their tendency to approach situations with a biased lens. Nardi also addressed concerns about biased research in his book, Doing Survey Research, but refers to this line of thinking as everyday thinking. Both authors articulate concerns about approaching research with human natural tendencies and point to the need for social scientists to use tools outside of themselves when conducting research. So you can kind of see how I'm moving in and out of like a summarizing statement and then putting the authors together. So that's kind of a strategy I do. I'll like summarize, put authors together, contrast authors, kind of go in and out of that style. So I said both, let me go back over here. Okay, in one illustration, Trost notes that researchers can use tools to check and see if their perception, in his example of the optical illusion, is really true. This statement made me think that this is the job of a social scientist. When a study is done properly, it provides researchers with the tools outside of ourselves, which we can implement to discover what is really true. So now that's my thought. That's me now taking all this information, and that's kind of what I took away from this. So now I've moved from summarizing to putting the authors, comparing or contrasting, and now I'm kind of going into my thinking and how I would interpret this and build on my own ideas. So I'll keep reading. Okay, these tools can protect against our tendency towards biased or everyday thinking and direct us to scientific thinking. The tools for social scientists can include surveys, questionnaires, and other standardized measures that are outside of the researcher. This makes me wonder how I can have a reliable tool, how I can know I have a reliable tool and what strategies should be applied when analyzing the results the tool provides. As social scientists, when we implement the scientific thinking Nardi suggests, and I put in parentheses what they were, and the 5 principles Trost suggests, we guard against pseudoscience and enter the world of social science. So again, you can kind of already see I needed to go back and fix some of the APA. It's a process, but anyways, hopefully this helps just kind of see and give you some sort of strategy. Again, for this class and especially discussion posts, you definitely don't have to go through every single one of these steps, but I do recommend putting your notes somewhere, even in a notebook, to get them out of your head, and that's what helps you think about the ideas, because now you're not like mentally holding on to remembering the ideas. Now they're on paper and they're much easier to work with. And then you can see patterns and trends, and you can easily compare and contrast between various authors. And then that's when the work of synthesis really starts to happen. And that's when you move from just summarizing what they say and moving into the world of synthesis. Okay, we had a little bit of a wardrobe change. I got cold. But anyways, okay, hopefully that helps. And I really want to reiterate that for like the smaller tasks, like definitely do not have to go through all of that. And I would not recommend summarizing in a full paragraph everything that you read unless it helps you. But I do recommend finding some sort of method where you get the ideas externally. You put them on, whether it's a Notion, Excel, just a scratch piece of paper, wherever. It's so much easier to work with the ideas when they are outside of yourself. And so I do recommend that. And then really just start looking for the patterns and the trends and the similarities and differences and those types of things to see how you can start building this conversation between the different authors that you read. And then as you do that, you really will start developing your own ideas and your own thinking, and then you'll always end with your own thinking. So again, those paragraphs that I read, they were just kind of quickly done. They would all probably need more work to have like as a finalized piece for something. But again, the discussion posts are really just that process where you are just getting your ideas out, thinking through. So I think something like that will satisfy those requirements just fine. And then for bigger projects, go back and edit and revise and things like that. But anyways, hopefully this video was helpful to you, and I look forward to supporting you this semester and hopefully making your life a little bit easier through trial and error as well. So I'll talk to you soon. Bye.